Shalom Aleichem Rabbi Sai. This is Yehud 11. The program is 11 at 11. Heard each and every Leil Shishi Thursday evening between 11 and 12 a.m. midnight. Well, Rabbi Sai, if you want to become a shutov in this program, this is one of the easiest things that you can do in Ruchnius. That after 120 years, when they'll ask you, Halonu ato l'tzarenu, you could say, L'chol hapachos, if you didn't do anything proactively, at least you told people that there's an address, there's a makam where people hear the Rein Hashkafa of Gedol Yisrael of yesteryear. On this radio program, the reason radio was created, it wasn't created for rock and roll, it wasn't created for Bittel's man, it was created principally for the kind of thing that we're doing with it now. Once upon a time, radio was created so if Pinchas Teitz could have the program that he had on the Gemara, on Daf Yomi. Maybe if you want to say, if you're a Lubavitch, you want to say maybe that they had the Divrei Torah from Lubavitch, whatever it is, that's the Tachlis of radio. Today I could say, without exaggeration, that the Tachlis, a person is supposed to say, B'shvili, Nivra Ha'olam, a person is supposed to have a little bit of Shmidish of Gaiva, Az the Kedusha. This is what radio is all about. It's to inform the people of what's going on, to catalog the terrible decline, the Yerida, Pilapaloyim, and by informing and educating people that they will be able to do some introspection and they will be able to improve situations and they will be able to use the koyach of Telas Yaakov of their mouths to speak up and to speak to the Askanim, and to speak to the Rabbanim, and to speak to the Moistis, and to say that we're not sufficient with the matzav, we've got to improve. So after 120 years, they'll come to you and they'll say, you heard this program. Did you strain yourself? Did you bother to tell another person about the program? Imagine if each person listening to this radio program would just take the time to tell 4 or 5 different people who might not be aware that there's a meshugana, a crazy, politically incorrect guy named Yehud 11 who doesn't care. He names names. He tells it like it is because we're Makom Sheish Chil Hashem and Cholken Kavod L'Rav. And this program is archived each and every week on my YouTube channel if you have a heter for the internet. And everybody now has a heter for the internet because it's a Kal B'Chayma. If the Shlucha the Rabbanan of the Gidmayetzes Gedolei Torah Kedusha Yisrael could use Facebook, and they could use Twitter, and they could use all kinds of things for kiss-ups to mushchasim, to politicians, to tell us how wonderful they are as they're feeding us the Sam HaMaves. So Allah has come, we could use YouTube to archive these programs. Which in my YouTube channel is Levin, Levin, and the number 11. I just want to tell one more myself before we introduce our very special guest for a very, very provocative, very, very important program that will catalog, unfortunately, the decline of the Haredim Sheber Haredim. You know, I failed algebra, but in algebra there's a concept called square roots, like 2 to the square root of 2. That's the square root. So the Haredim, the square root of Haredim is the Haredim Sheba Haredim. And who are they? Satmar, Belz. So we're going to show you, unfortunately, how Satmar and Belz are also part of the decline of Azay Kritzels, Azay Yiddishach. But before we do that, I just want to repeat, as I do once every few months, I tell over the Maisa. It was Chalanvay, probably Sukkos. This goes back over 20 years ago because Rev. Avigdor Miller was still alive. And we had a website called Jews for Morality. And at the time, and the person who was running it was a big tzaddik. He was a boy dead, and he lived up in the South Fallsburg area. And he had a shaila to Rev. Avigdor Miller on Chol Hamoed, is he allowed to post things about Jews and morality? And Rev. Avigdor Miller said, absolutely yes. And that's really the same philosophy that I'm talking about now. This is what the internet was created for. This is what the radio was created for. By the way, I have to just tell you, when somebody came to Rev. Avigdor Miller and told him they wanted to put his Divrei Torah on the internet, he said in his own inimicable way, better flush it down the toilet. So I remember once a brother, I'm sure he's still alive, and he's a very choshev yid, who was a big loichem against the internet. His name is Rabbi Teitelbaum, a son of the choshev Rabbi Teitelbaum from Amol, and a brother of Yabol Chaim Rev Eli Teitelbaum. And I remember he met me at a chasna. He says, you say you're a Talmud of Avigdor Miller? Rev. Avigdor Miller was stark against the internet. I said, you only know that Rev. Avigdor Miller didn't want his Torahs on the internet. This is a mice of at least 20 years ago. At that time, he didn't want his Torahs. It's a question if now, even the Dush, he would want his Torahs. He wouldn't want his Torahs. I'm not going to paskin. But I have a Meiser Rav that when it came to morality and that stuff, he wanted it even on Chol Hamoed. because verstanden as a brennende fire. Without any further ado, we have Poloni Almoni, Reb Moshe. Reb Moshe is joining with us, and we're going to discuss some of the things that are happening in the Hasidische Welt and get some insights as to what's happening and not only what's happening, but how we have to be concerned about what's happening over the big pond, on the other side of the big pond, which is in England and in Belgium. So, Shalom Aleichem, Reb Moshe, and thank you for joining me. I appreciate it very, very much. And so, Zein's le mitzvah. So, right now, we know, we've reported many times here, and by the way, it's the most interesting thing. The ones who report on this, you hear, is not Hamadia, not the Yid, not the Blatt, not the Allgemeine Journal. The one who not versteht sich nach Chas v'Shalom, Amin, Mishpacha, Man Dachar Shmei. The ones who report on Ofsted in England, that's like the equivalent of the Board of Education of the state of New York. The ones who, the Department of Education, the ones who report on these things is the Jewish press. Every 2 or 3 weeks, they have articles and items about the Chazarai that's going on, that Ofsted is pushing a diversity program that to control the schools there, to the extent that they're insisting that all the schools, the Hasidic schools, teach tolerance, respect, and the appreciation for the legitimacy, the validity in every area of Allah Shmutz Sheba'olam, transgendered and transgendered bathrooms, and mishkav zocha marriage, and lamaila or lamata betuma. So the question is how these various schools and these various kehillas are dealing with this. So what's happening, and what did you hear is happening in Stamford Hill? Stamford Hill is the echt Hasidische neighborhood with Hasidische schools.
Hasidische neighborhood, yeah, and Hasidische neighborhood in London.
So what are they doing?
So what I heard is that the software wants, they're trying to push certain subjects that they should learn. Now, I didn't hear so far that they actually are starting to teach it, but I know that in the Beis Rachel school, they told the government that we're going to teach the kids to respect people from different religions and to understand. We're going to teach them to understand and respect different types of people, different religions, different genders.
So in other words, what this means, and did you say anything, did you hear anything about them putting up signs to this effect in the school?
So for this one, I heard from someone that they have a minyan in the Besmedish Davar there, Shabbos, and one of the Gilad said that he saw a sign with, I guess this was before the inspectors came, they hung up a sign that by the bathrooms, that we respect all types of people from all different types of religion and different types of genders.
So Rabbi say the first thing is, this is mamish reminds us of the Gemara in Megillah. The Gemara in Megillah says, "Afal gav di'io lechazi, mazli kachazi." So they put the signs, their capitulation, their surrender, their hachno to the forces of evil, to the forces of Amalek, which is Amalek, as the Chazal say, is Rashi says it. Asher korcha baderech. They happened upon you on the derech, or they made you cold on the derech. It's kalt to Yiddishkeit. So Rashi says, Loshen mikre, it's happenstance. Keri is Haitzah Zera. Mishkav Zocha, that's Amalek. So they put the Amalek agenda on signs. Where did they put it? They put it mamish by the Beis HaKisei. Now, there could be they had another cheshbon in putting it by the Beis HaKisei. Because, eventually, they're pushing this whole concept all over the world, especially in America and Europe. They're pushing the concept of transgendered bathrooms. That if a Meshuggah thinks that they're a man trapped inside a woman, trapped inside a man's body, or a man trapped inside a woman's body, then you have to call them this. You have to identify them as this. If not, you can get knossos and fines and all kinds of things. So you find this already in New York with signs by the bathrooms. So Satmar, sie sind in Kriege, wie alle the Tipshim Goyim, so they verstehen. So we'll take a step ahead. we'll ingratiate ourselves with the inspectors. You see, we're already putting up signs about genders pink by the bathrooms. So you understand?
That's for sure. That's why they put it. They didn't put it anywhere else, only by the bathroom. That's because that's probably what they belong.
So in other words, there's a saying in Yiddish, as me est chazer soll es ruinen from board. If you're already eating the pig, you're doing the treifa meisa, you should have the whole geschmack, and you should eat it a big shear, and it should dribble down your beard from the pig juice, from the bacon. But lemaisa, that's a but that's a shtus v'hevel. I'll tell you why, Rabbi say this is a shtus v'hevel. Why? Because even if you have to capitulate in certain things, you have to measure on every single schnit and trit. Lemaisa, let me ask a question. Reb Moshe, I asked this question. Maybe you could give us some insight on this. I recently saw a video that on Simchas Beis HaShoyeva in Chabad, Chicago, they had Kalish singing about Bonim Tzadikim, okay? And I asked the question, if they would do this, if Kalish would get up and say, Chaboisai, the Rebbe was nifta so and so many years ago, and he's buried in the oil, and I don't think that he's going to be Mashiach. Would they have him singing there? 1,000% not. So I was making a shtickle chayzik of Lubavitch. So now, but I'm an equal opportunity abuser. I'm half Galiciana, half Litvak. I criticize the Litvische and Aguda. I criticize the Hasidische. I'm an equal opportunity abuser. So I want to ask a question. Let's say that there was a matziv or something in England where there would be geyser that to say anything against Zionism is considered a form of racism. Now, it's not a chaloim because they, in the United Nations, in the 1970s, they introduced and it passed an official meinung of the United Nations that Zionism is racism, just like apartheid in South Africa was anti-black, it was racist, Zionism was. And years later, they reversed that. But here's the point that I'm saying. Let's say now, the Labour Party had a lot of anti-Semitism in Britain. And let's say they would make a regulation in Britain as the Satmar Shita to speak against Zionists and not to praise Zionists and not to have a flag from Zionim in the schools, in the Jewish schools, is a form of racism. Here's the question. Would they be machnia because it goes against the Rabbeinu Yoel and his whole Shita? Or would they say of them, we can't move a step away from Rabbeinu Yom Satmar, Vayol Moshe, v'chulu v'chulu. The question I'm asking you.
It's a good question if they would say that. On one hand, it's going against that. So why am I Satmar? Then I'm not Satmar. Or maybe we'd find a different way because you have to get money from them. What's going to be over here? So we'll find a different way how to deal with the problem. It's a good question.
So the point is like this. So here's the point. Let me make this point clear. Just like Lubavitch would not tolerate somebody speaking against the Sikha from the Rebbe or saying that the Rebbe is not Mashiach, the Mashiachisten wouldn't tolerate it, let's say. I don't think that Satmar would be so fast to tolerate the imposition, lemechzer, l'shlish revi, even a fraction of the Mishkav Zocha agenda. So it comes out, who is Satmar more concerned with? With the Rebbe, with Rabbeinu Yoel's Shitta, or with God, the Rebbe's God and his Torah? Like, what takes precedence here? That's the question. I can't only ask it on Lubavitch. I have to ask it on Satmar. I have to ask it on Agudas Yisrael. But this moves us to the next point. The point is, as I discussed with you a few minutes before we went on to this program, I discussed with you that I believe that Elohim Acherim, that we say in Shema, B'hoyim Shemaya, that we can't worship any foreign gods. Remember, Rabbi say, it's not Elohim Acherim. Elohim is only reserved for Hashem. It's Elohim Acherim, foreign gods. So you can't do that. Foreign gods means the deification. When you make a deity out of something, it's a bechina of a foreign god, especially money, the Egel HaZohav. As I told you, Rabbi Moshe, Tosfos says in the Gillah, Ha-Kesef is Ha-Eitz. It's the same gematria. Tosfos says this. In other words, the original sin of the Eitz Hadas, which led Adam to be koifer be'ika, Okay, a bechina of avodah zara, and that was what the Chet HaEgel was, and HaKesef is HaEitz, and that was the kitnik that Homer was doing. So I wanted. Oh, so now I want to ask you. Now we move. We're in Europe, so let's move on to Belgium. Last week I reported. I saw on this WhatsApp site that I get a lot of information from called Lech. If people are interested in the WhatsApp site, they can go to my chat 718-469. They can join my chat, which is also interesting. 6999 718-469-6999, and there we'll post maybe an invitation or how to get on to Lel Shishi. But I saw this Lel Shishi around a week ago, and I was trying to do some research about this, and I called up a Moshe, maybe he could find out something. In other words, it seems that the Belz community in Antwerpen is being under the gun, wie man sagt. Also, there's an investigation. What is the investigation about?
Could be either investigation or not investigation. They're checking to see if they want to. The way it works in Europe, that they have such a thing that from the government they can come down and talk to the kids. Now, the schools have no say over this. They can't tell the government to go. The only thing that they could is if the parents have the right to take out the kids. They can say that if they don't want people interviewing their children, they have a right to take a kid out of that day. But they come down to the setting. I think it sounds like they're there for not just for one day. They're there for a couple of days, and they speak to the children to see what they're learning. So here's going to come up this question.
Recognition, and respect.
What the requirements for the government.
Right. So what are they thinking about doing, Belz?
So they're thinking of telling them that we're teaching what we're supposed with what you want us to teach them.
But was this something about actually having parents or something like that writing letters to this effect?
If their parents would write letters, what?
Was there something about? I thought I saw in Lel Shishi that they were asking parents to write letters to the government to say that even though our Torah forbids homosexuality, but still we are teaching our children respect and tolerance and the place, for alternative lifestyles. Because we're good Berger, we're good citizens. Something to that effect.
Yes, a lot of schools, but the people on their own did it, but I don't think it had to. The Moises were not. Someone even told me that the Moises asked him not to write. I don't know why. That's only what I heard.
So why would people write such a letter if they were unsolicited? Number one, even Tiltul min Atzad, Stille Heit, if they weren't solicited, why should any Haredish Yid, why should they write such a letter, which is basically recognizing the Amalek agenda, Pshuta Kamashmoy? Why would they do that if the Moshe is not even asking them to do that?
I think it's just because that's the only way they could the only way out if the parents are writing letters.
And now, what do you think is the reason? In other words, why wouldn't the people say that? In other words, we don't want your money, we don't want your funding, and
that's what we should really be doing. But there's no other choice. In such a case, if it's coming to such a point, we have no choice to do it. But it's now the Moises are for years already. We're used to taking more and more money from the government. Now all of a sudden we're going to disconnect from them.
See, Rabbi Said, the reason you listen to this radio program is because there's mamish a big chidush in this radio program. That here's a fellow in his 60s named Yehuda Levin. Frag ihm nicht kein größer Scheiles in Halacha, frag ihm nicht kein größer Scheiles in Gemara, in Lomdus, and yet, when it comes to the hashkafa of the Gedolim of yesteryear and things that have to do with morality, you're not going to find too many other sources in the world that are discussing and that are instructing and that are directing people how to think in these areas. So here's the deal. The Beis Halevi famously says on the Pasuk, Hatzileni no miyad ochi miyad Esav. Ki yarei anochi osoi, pen yavoi v'hikani ein malabonim. Save me from my brother from Esav. Hashem doesn't know that Esav is Yaakov's brother. The Torah doesn't use extra terminology because he's going to kill us. He's going to kill us, the mothers and the children, right? So the Beis HaLevi says, what is Hatzileni miyad ochi miyad Esav? That throughout the long diaspora, the long Golus, Esav used to have the iron fist. Now he has the iron fist is covered with a velvet glove. I'm using my own terminologies. He's going to appear in the Doros Ha'achronos, the Dora Basra. He's going to appear like a brother, like a friend. And brother, we're Panyabra, we're good buddies, and this and that. We're not like, and therefore he's going to suck us in to the Esav or Amalek agenda through fraternity and brotherhood. And I think that that's what we see is happening. Post-Holocaust, we see that now there's a new approach. After the Holocaust, it no longer became fashionable. The chesed. Yeah. You know, there's a bird that's called chasida, okay? Because absolute, and she's a corruption. She's a treif and a bird. Because absolute chesed is a kilkel. The Torah says by arayas, certain types, he chesed. A very modern lashon of chesed, because the Torah is doing a twofer. You see, you won't hear this anywhere else. The Torah is doing a twofer. It's telling us that absolute chesed is a tremendous corruption, whether it's in kashrus, and it could lead to arayas. So you have to understand that chesed gomel leads to shmutz, and here chesed is an appropriate term because this is arayas mamish. So what's happening is here that because a decision was made that never, we're so destitute that we have to become addicted to government support and to take it with two hands, heaping things. We become addicted, drug addicts to the money. So therefore, what you were telling me is basically that there's something like $840,000 of annual budget or something that this Belz school or schools or whatever it is get. They get, and this money is used for Melandim, for principals, for Mishpach, people, etc., etc. So I want to ask.
It's either that or close shop, or they're not going to give it. And all the people that are relying on this, so they don't know what to do.
So I don't understand. When a person, I don't want to make life, and you should know something. I say this. When I go to shul every day, and Yidden come over, Yireim v'shleinen, boys, chasanim, old men, fathers of 10 kids, 8 kids, 15 kids. Today I gave a person, he looks like an alter zayda mamish, 17 kids he had, and he's schlepping around, maybe with his son, probably one of his youngest sons, because he has to make chasna. So I say to myself, there for the grace of God, without Hashem's chen v'chesed, it could be me. And my heart goes out to them. But I want to ask a question. Just like people understand that they have to go and raise money and go to a foreign country to make chasna for their kids. So, in other words, if you have to embrace the Amaleki agenda, like where do we draw a line over here? How much vita into the tum, into the zamt, into the swamp? Trump wants to clean up the swamp. This is the swamp. How much deeper are we going to go? Like Ad Mosai, as the Lubavitch should say, Ad Mosai. Chanifa after Chanifa, and geld. So if any of us had a child or a cousin or a friend, and today, like that's a problem in the frum community with drug addiction. There are kids, teenagers, they're in their 20-somethings and in their 40-somethings. What does Klal Yisrael do? What do Yiddish people do with an addiction? Just 1 second, please. Just give me a pause. We got knocked off the WhatsApp. I'm just turning it back on. So what do people do in such a case? What people do is they send their people, either to their children or these people, to Los Angeles or to Florida. And there are a few places that have addiction centers, rehab centers, Haredi, Hasidish, Frum. So we have to get ourselves weaned off the addiction. Mosai, when are we going to wean ourselves off? I said we never had a time in history where we had more billionaires and millionaires than we have today. I was just told that there's going to be a major fundraiser from Haredi Yidden. I don't know if it's exclusively Haredi. It's going to be Orthodox Jews largely. There's going to be in the next week or two a major fundraiser for for President Trumbenik in New York, where the Haredim are going to open up, and the Orthodox and probably the Sephardim, they're going to produce millions of dollars. And President Trump is coming down. Okay? So I'm saying the money is by us. Why do we have to go through this chazarai? We're selling out our birthright.
I have another question. I'm sorry for interrupting. I just now, Yontif, I was going around the Kedusha, so many organizations. Please help. Over 1,000 Igelat make Yontif. This is only one organization. There's another organization with another 500 people. And there's more and more organizations. Look like here in Lakewood. Why there's so many organizations there's so many anemic classes. I mean, today the economy is much better than it used to be, and I don't remember 20 years ago there were so many people who needed the tzedukah for Yontif. What's going on here? It seems like we got used to such a lifestyle that we're spending so much money. Everything we're spending money, even the money that we don't have. Everything is credit cards and nachtechoivis. The same thing with the Moises. The parents, people got used to a certain lifestyle. Chasanas, everything costs so much money, and it's so hard. It's addiction. So hard to get so hard to get off this lifestyle. The same thing is with the Moises.
You're saying
there's so much funding from the government, and now you tell people to start making your own school.
Moshe, you're saying very good. What you're saying is definitely emes. It's definitely emes. But we really have to do something. We have to have some leadership.
Even the schools. When I was a kid, I was in Cheder. We sat on a bench. It was a regular, simple building. And Chalimit was much less than. And I understand that the money today, $100 is not today is not like. I'm talking about even proportionally. What happened today? Chalimit is so high, fancy buildings. Who needs this? Maybe in such a case, we have to say, lots of the buildings will live normal, simple, and we'll try to fund our own schools. I hear today. I want to go to this new Common Core learning now. But I hear right now that there's about 10 schools opened up already that were completely on their own.
In other words, they're not taking money from government.
I think now in Borough Park, Muncie, a few different, about 10 schools already there. Recently now with this whole Common Core.
So let me just give a little introduction.
Yeah.
And I discussed this with you off the air, and I've mentioned this once or twice in the last year or two on the radio program, but it's good to mention it again. There's a Maisa that I heard that when the Rebbe would make his Suda every year of Freyung, I think it is, he would make a Suda. What? Chaval of Kislev in the armory. We have thousands of Hasidim there, and they still continue that Suda ad Hayom Hazeh, I think. So he spoke about the fact that at that time there was more of a fledgling, a beginning, burgeoning community, Satmar community in Montreal, and the Shaila came to him whether they should officially seek recognition and government funding for their schools. And he said you shouldn't do it because he prognosticated, he forecasted, he was misnabe, that once they give you money, they get their talafim, or meaning their hooves, they get it. And therefore, he suggested not to do it. And he made a comment, like in New York, we're so careful here. And he didn't seem to realize the incestuous relationship that already existed then 50 years ago between government officials funding and the Satmar, Rosh Kehillah, and the other Askanim. And I heard this from somebody, I don't remember who anymore, because I heard it tens of years ago. And this is the situation here. So now with that introduction, I just want to explain.
But the money, the Moses and so don't think money should do it. This is what we have to start doing now.
Right. In other words,
we should have our own funding.
I just wanted to make sure that the Olam understood what you just said. So Satmar and a few other individuals or a few other Gevirim or groups that have a gefühl. Maybe it was like the Rabbi Auerbach people in Eretz Yisrael. They have a gefühl. So the Satmar has a famous thing, a Keren Hatzolah, that they give money, they raise money here in America to support that the people should have chadorim al pi Taras HaKodesh. Yisrael Sab.
But now, since with the whole thing with the army, and a lot of all the Moises disconnected from the government, so the Belz became much more Moises now that are relying on Keren Hatzolah.
Right. But what you're saying, Rabbi, you're saying very good. That's why you're on this program. You're saying that we really, really have to talk in terms of a kind of a Keren Hatzolah over here, that we have to start to be menatek, we have to start to disconnect from the government. Today was election day, and I can tell you that probably many people, I'm not being polite, many people who are bright, but when it comes to elections, they make themselves or they allow themselves to be in the category of stupids. There's no other word for it. Went to vote today, not knowing and just voting. There was disgusting signs. Whatever the Askanim sign, and the Askanim write down that the Ravunim say. We posted pictures today on our chats. We posted pictures in Muncie. They're telling you mamish to vote for Trefin Yakas, who probably some of them are pro-assisted suicide, which is already in New Jersey and it's going to come to New York. Now, by the way, about assisted suicide, all of a sudden I just saw something. They're having a meeting in New Jersey next week, and something about with a lawyer. And all of a sudden, Agudas Yisrael. Yeah, where the heck, Heck, where the heck was Rabbi Avi Schnall when it came to fighting assisted suicide in New Jersey that passed by one lousy vote? Last week, I gave the names of 10 or more legislators from communities in Passaic, in Elizabeth, in Teaneck, in Lakewood, Sean Kane, who voted for this kind of garbage. That means the vaunted Agudas Yisrael was AWOL. They were absent without leave. Okay, and they did not do nearly enough lobbying, arm twisting, pressuring on the assisted suicide. But now, once again, after the fact, all of a sudden they're here, they're the big loichmim. Why? Because some private askanim that I deal with said we have to sue them in court. So now Agud is already embarrassed, so suddenly they're involved. Johnny come lately, Johnny come too lately. Now this Chazarai is going to come to New York, okay? And there are going to be people in Muncie and in Brooklyn who voted for people. In Brooklyn, there were people probably who went and voted for Jamami Williams for controller. He was the only one running for office, I think, or for his opponent. And they're all a pile of garbage. No. And that's what we do. So let's get back to Common Core. Tell us in a nutshell, what is the purpose of this thing called Common Core curriculum, which was developed and it's sweeping the nation? What is it?
Okay. Now, it seems like a lot of people don't understand what Common Core is. And I hear it's a lot of schools, there's different, Shoin is it's called, other places it's called critical thinking. Now, basically what it is, the way it sounds like something very nice. It sounded like they're sharpening the mind to teach the kids when you read a story, think, and whatever you learn about it, think into it, ask questions. Why is it like this? What? Now, what they want, their goal is that they're trying to push certain things, like all these agendas what they have. The question is now, how do we do this? So they're trying to set a common thing, common core means that all over, everybody has a certain way, controlled by the government, the way we learn, the way we think. That everything you learn, you should question things. Why is it like that? Now, we all know there's some things we question, then there's certain things that are fact. There's day and there's night. These are facts. It's not an opinion. If it's raining or it's sunny outside, they're trying to open up the mind and everything you could, whatever, and any materials you could say, why is it like that? Who said it's like this? Maybe I think it's different. I have my own way. I have a different opinion to think. it's not a Matthias. It's a different opinion. I'm such a gender. I could, gewoon in het land. Trying to be koifer in bereichen de woorden Kim. Matthias is how the world was created. Zoeken in de kijven woorden is dan. Maar het is. You could think different.
In other words, the law in New York is that it's no longer, or either you no longer put male and female, or you have another category called non-binary. And a parent could decide at the birth of the child that even if it was born as a male, that it's not necessarily a male, that we're going to leave it up to the child.
Right. Some hospitals, the papers doesn't say by male, but it doesn't say it's blank.
Right. It's either blank or they give you other choices.
You have to give the choice to decide what it is.
Right. They give you a choice called non-binary. That means you're not deciding yet whether it's a Zach and the Keva. Right. So this same mentality is what's behind Common Core. Now, I asked you if there was any kolkairos, if you've seen anything at all in the Hasidic Olam having to do with Common Core. Did you see any kolkaira at all that talks about Common Core?
There's a number of women that signed against it, yeah.
Uh-huh. So with
there was all a FIFA this Tuesday. There was a bigger FIFA in Long Island, and there was a lot of speakers. And
now let me ask you this: the Asifa in Long Island.
I didn't write about it on my issue. I spoke about it. I tried to get the recordings of the speeches. So far I didn't get it, but I hope still to. If I'll get it, I'll be there to put it on. So
let me ask you this. If I want to ask you, this is like a political.
Actually, they had from Mishalayim, Felicia Kalmanovich. What if there was? He came before.
Yeah, I saw this in Lahavin in the newspaper Lahavin. Right. So I want to ask you this question. We have like the more extreme, the more quote unquote right wing, non-compromising Yidden like Rav Kalmanovich, and I'm sure there's Rabbanim who spoke there against Common Core. They meant it with an ernstkeit. But I want to ask you a question: was that Asifa in Long Island with the official gushpanka of Satmar Keilu, with the same gushpanka and enthusiasm and involvement of the very top rabbinic leadership of Satmar, like when they send people out to block traffic at 5:00 outside the Israeli embassy, Dafka at a time where the average guy is going to curse because his traffic is being blocked as he's trying to go home. I'm saying that Agav. I'm not saying we shouldn't protest against the Tzionim. I'm anti-Tzioni. I question sometimes the seichel of rating on a lot of goyim who don't want to hear on WCBS radio that there's an extra 20 minutes or half-hour traffic jam because Satmar closed off this street or that street. But leaving that aside, but I'm asking in principle, the same enthusiasm that they close down businesses to go. With the same enthusiasm, with the same geschmack, with the same mitzvah that they go lishma, to go protest against the Israeli consulate, did the rabbinic leadership, the Satmar Rebbe, Reb Zalman Leib, Reb Aaron, whoever it is, did they say it's a chayv kodesh to go down to the Asifa against Common Core? Or was it
on Tuesday, the past week? Now, ever since it wasn't, I didn't see any signs supporting this from Masachmas Rabbanim. I did not see anything was under the leadership of Satmar. It was Satmar freedom, but not after Satmar. It was impartaish. We need to say it wasn't.
No, that's good. But here's the question I'm asking you. You're not coming to the question. I know that there are Yereim Shleimim, and I know that there are Bazundera individual Kanoyishtika Rabbanim. But sometimes, like you said, the Sachtas HaRabbanim and the highest level of leadership puts a geshpanka, a seal of approval, a license and an authorization and an encouragement to go do this, like when it comes to protesting outside the Israeli embassy, the Israeli consulate. So I'm asking, was there the same kind of, from the upper leadership? And you're answering, there really wasn't, because we didn't see official letter from the Sachtas Rabbanim.
No, I'm saying I didn't see official letter from the Sachtas Rabbanim, but I believe the people who went did go with I think they went with a brand.
Again, Moshe, you're not hearing me. The brand by the Hamoin Am Yereim V'Shleinim and the Rabbanim who spoke there is unquestionable. Kuli Amalei Pligi. But the leadership did not put their koyach behind this like they do when they make a protest against the Zionists. So what do we derive from this? That fighting Zionists is very, very, very important. It's an ikka. But the Common Core is not such an ikka yet. That's what I'm showing you. I'm trying to show you that in their own backyard, they don't put themselves behind it.
Yeah, like I said, I believe a lot of people don't understand it so much.
Yeah.
You know, I was listening to one of the hotlines. One of the it speaks about Zionists and doing miles with that. Zionists do understand. Reißen the Betulis to beschwar the Klal. So, but over here, can we go? Ich will noch sicher, but I'm sure it comes from Zion. Stammt kann get mehr meint es nicht. So it seems like not everybody understands what it is. It doesn't sound verhältnis nicht so schlecht wie das. We have to understand what's laying behind the Common Core. Some oberflächliche doesn't people don't have how bad it is.
Right. So basically, we want to be on the record tonight in letting the Olam know that this is the plan, Common Core, and I just want to elaborate. When you teach the kids under the guise of critical thinking, we want to lechadude, to sharpen their minds. But really, what we want to do is we want to be toyal rishonim. We want to rishonis. We want to question all of the preconceived and accepted yesodis for hundreds or thousands of years in various.
Besides this, that we know everything, we were supposed to be in Kabul. Kabul is over from what our parents, from our Melam to Bebayim told us. It's steered to this. Everything is choike. But right, and it goes on and on.
And that's what it is, and it's appropriate to speak to it now because this, as I said, this is basically from Sukkot.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Listen, Reb Moshe, I want to thank you very, very much for enlightening the Olam, for enlightening the Tziva, and I want to wish you tremendous hatzlacha. You're
one thing I want to say.
Yeah, please.
That from Tzadikim that in the Achas Hayomim, before Iknashir, they're going to come down again. That's for the Ptudik, the Gehoide from Lin, that the Neshomas and the Ramabel and the Flug, and they come down again. And this is Mamash what we see. This is called the Neshomas, the Ramabel, the Flug. It says by the Dora Fluger. I was wondering what's this whole movement of this whole liberal movement of climate changing. We can tell what's happening with liberal.
Right, go ahead.
What's that about the Dora Fluger? It says let's do something. We're going to control the Bria. It also says that some of the Irish is going to want to send a mark on them. They'll be able to control it. This is happening in this climate changing.
Yeah.
This is what. But the Comprimisers, we're holding our thoughts. So we don't know how to do. This is.
Yeah, but you know the saying in Yiddish, mit was for aponim, mit megein an kegen Mashiach. You understand this? I'm always a little scared. I say as I get older, I say it's Samach David Avdecha with more kavana. But on the other hand, I'm scared personally. I'm embarrassed. I'm not ready yet. I'm not here, Shemayim. I'm not this. Right. Yeah. But they said it because of the what do you call it? The fires in California, maybe the Armkeit or whatever it is. The Einish Ashtuf. I don't know if they were saying it because they meant they won't be ready for it. I'm just saying we got to get ready for it. You know, we got to get ready. But thank you very, very much, Rabbi Moshe. We'll be in touch again, and I hope to have you in the future. Tiskul mitzvahs. I got that after. I just want to say, you know, it's Parshas Lech Lecha, Ne'artzecha, U'mimeladecha, U'mivesavicha. So, homiletically speaking, Abram is Maisa Avos Sim Labanim, and therefore each of us is really called upon. I'm just thinking about this Pasha tonight. Each of us, Bezeir Ampin in minuscule, is given a sort of, in a very general way, certain nisyonis that in a fractional way might reflect on the nisyonis, the challenges that Avraham Avinu was given. And because Avraham Avinu was given these challenges, he built into the Bria that we should be able to rise up and deal with our fractional part of these challenges. Lech lecha me artzecha. Artzecha is the land, your land. Like, don't let your feelings of nationality, your feelings of that I'm an American and I have part of the American culture, and arts is connected, arts is connected with artsius, that I'm connected to it's a gashmiification. He's a physical person, artsius. So lech lecha, go out from yourself, from your artsius. That's the first step. Umi meladetechos. Don't say, if I grew up that I have to have a lot of sushi and chandeliers and this and that, I have to have the fancy car because of meladetcha. I was born with a silver spoon. I was born with this level of gashmius. Okay, and in general society, I grew up in my house with my father. This is the a Messiah. It's a Messiah to have all the gashmias. You understand? Lech lecha from all that. Okay, and then we have to have a different kind of artsias. We have to have a Hashem-centered type of a thing, and then of course the final design of the Akedah. Each and every one of us is called upon to do Mesiras Nefesh. Mesiras Nefesh. So what's the big Mesiras Nefesh today? It's a joke. To control ourselves from some of the stupid music, from some of the freserai, from some of these things. That's the big Lech Lecha that we're called upon to do. I mean, that's the Akedah that we're called upon to do. Baruch Hashem, we're not in the massive that we have to do Mesiras Nefesh. Maybe single Mesiras Nefesh with money to cut off from the government. But even that we're not doing. I'm going to see if I can get a little musical interlude. I decided to make that a part of the program because it might be too heavy duty without the musical interlude. So we'll do perhaps a musical interlude, and then we'll come back with the conclusion of our program. I just want to mention that last week I said I was going to do Hanukkah music. I didn't do it. You know why? Because I played a truly beautiful niggin. That niggin, I just want to give you the background, was Uzziah Tzadok. Uzziah Tzadok, tremendous voice. This was made 5 years ago when he was still around 12 years old or something like that. Actually, there was a national competition on Israeli TV for who's the best young singer or the best singer, Chlal. And I think Uzziah Tzadok won that year's competition. And that song might have been a chelik of why he won it. It's truly a beautiful niggin. And I have a little negis in playing it. You know that I have, Baruch Hashem, I have K'nei Nahara, a bunch of boys, and they are very prominent musicians, very talented. And on occasion, I play the Negunim here. And it seems that Hashem b'chazdai we're Leviim, so Leviim l'shim l'zimrim. It seems that Hashem is not only giving us directly, but even my son-in-laws, Baruch Hashem, the two son-in-laws that I have are also sing beautifully, and the Einikal, I thank Hashem, sings very nicely and plays the guitar already. And even my mechutin is Uzziah Tzadok's father and mother. They're my mechutanim. My son Yisrael is married to a pure 100% Teimani, and he lives in Eretz Yisrael. And Uzziah Tzadok is his brother-in-law. So we have a little bit of a mishpacha thing. As a matter of fact, on YouTube, with hundreds of thousands of hits, they have him singing a song called Bereshis Bara that he sang at the Chasna in Eretz Yisrael. Lekavod the Chasna, he sang for the Chasna Kali. You see them sitting there. Again, if you have a for the internet, I'm not advising anybody to go look on the internet. I'm not saying like Rivka said, Lecha toscha b'ni. I'm just saying that if you have a heter, if you're doing it, so I'm just mentioning that. Anyhow, we'll be back with a little music in the final moments of our program. So please stay tuned and do me a favor. Spread the word about the program. Do this, join the revolution. It's not that hard. Tell a few people to tune in and listen. Thank you very much. We'll be back.